Hello. I have a video today that, if you're interested, I hope you might be. It's taken from the Johns Hopkins research for nutrition and weight control. This is the second video that I'll try to put together. The first one was on this subject. Um, this is the second one on the same subject. Probably won't have enough material to really justify a third one. I've already had three on heart attack prevention from Johns Hopkins, and if you have any desire to find out about those, you might want to go back and pick those up. But today, I want to take a look at carbohydrates, the pluses and minuses, some vitamins, a little detail, some minerals, and then close with some thoughts on um, food that are typically called organic. And sometimes that's a misnomer, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So I want to give you those pieces of information, and some of it you already know. Some of you probably have forgotten. Probably some new things in there. But if you're interested in your health and your nutrition, you might want to take a few minutes and just look this one over and see if there's any beneficial comments from it. Now, from my good eyesight, typically doing everything else but reading, now I put my glasses on so I can see my notes. First of all, carbohydrates. We've heard a lot of news about carbohydrates, and they aren't all bad. It's gotten a lot of bad connotations in the past few years, and in the media, the white carbs are typically called the bad carbs. They're highly processed, refined foods like white rice, starchy products, bread, pasta, bagels, crackers made with white flour. Now, you can eat all of those and have better health if you do with wheat grain or whole grain carbs. So it's just up to you on what you want to eat. Now, occasionally, some of the white flour is not going to be a bad thing as long as you don't go overdo it and get into a lot of the white carbs. But carbs are important because they do help you. They're an essential part of your healthy diet. Well, then there's simple and complex carbs. While maybe they're more familiar with good or versus the white carbs we just talked about, simple carbs are the carbs really are sugars. They come from fruits, vegetables, glucose, fructose, milk, latex, cane, beet, and table sugar. And while in our health pyramid, fruits and vegetables are top of the chain, we're going to have some simple carbs that's got some sugar in it, and this can't be helped. And sugar is okay as long as, again, you don't overdo it. And some of the things that this study does, it helps you as individuals, what's good for you and how you should limit them. Well, the problem in doing a video that don't know who's going to be watching it, if anybody, is you can't make a diet plan or the best food eating diet for an individual if you have several different types of people. So the best I can do for you is to give you some basics, tell you to look into them, tell you where to go to find out some more information. Certainly Johns Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, some of the other very good places like the cancer research centers and others. Now, with this virus going on, you're probably being told a lot of good places that are doing some studies. You can probably find those pretty quickly. And you need to pin down what your particular health and status and age is or are. The third one, besides the white and simple, is the complex carbohydrates. These are starches and fiber that come from grains, vegetables, fruits, also again, beans, and from refined grains. And they're more nutritious than refined grains for two reasons. One, they contain the entire grain. Funny, they're called whole grains. They contain all the grain. Sorry. And two, they are more digestible because they digest slowly. And in terms, they give you a fuller feeling. But anything that digests more slowly is just beneficial for the workings of your diet and your inner being. But it also says that you get a fuller feeling quicker, and you don't tend to eat a lot of extra things. Before I get into just naming some grains that are whole that are important, I just want to mention one comment. If you happen to be Jewish, or you do the Lord's Supper, some of the religion call it communion. Mine happens to call it the Lord's Supper. I think that's what was talked about in the Garden of Gethsemane, but I'll leave that up for you. It's another subject. But anytime we have a Lord's Supper thought of having a feast of any kind, or want to do some kind of a celebration in a religious point of view, they usually pull out the unleavened bread, crackers, bread, whatever. Now, why is this? Just thought you'd give you a little bit of unknown thing. Maybe you already know this. Back in the Old Testament days, and it's brought forward to the Jewish people today, that leavened bread was considered synonymous to a sin. So when you're having a Passover or a communion or Lord's Supper, you don't want any sin part of it, so you eat unleavened bread. Just a little sideline you probably didn't know. Last thought, what are some of the whole grains that are important and you should consider? Well, brown rice, buckwheat, bulgur, which is cracked wheat, muesli, oatmeal. I eat a lot of oatmeal. Popcorn. Didn't think about that, did you, maybe? Whole grain barley, whole grain cornmeal, whole rice, whole wheat bread, pasta, crackers, sandwich buns, rolls, tortillas, or cereal flakes, or wild rice. And they give us 5 others, and I'm not going to mention all 5. I'm going to mention 2 of them that are, if you're feeling a little more adventurous and cooking these up and buying the products that maybe contain these, they're as good for you, maybe slightly better for you, because they're called a little more adventuresome, whatever that means. Amaranth is one of them, and sorghum is another one. And you probably heard of those 2 at least. Changing subjects. Vitamins and minerals I'll get into. First of all, vitamins. But I want to say that vitamins and minerals are essential for virtually all the biochemical processes necessary for our life. They're needed to produce energy, fight disease, which is the immune system, repair injured tissues, and all other important factors. There are 13 essential vitamins, and they're divided into 2 major groups. Water soluble, which means that if you take one of these vitamins as a supplement, or you're eating food within it, and you have water along with it, they will be soluble, and they will be quick to get into your system. And those are vitamins C and B. They dissolve in water and are eliminated in your urine. Then there's the fat-soluble vitamin. It's the A, D, E, and K. and they're absorbed in the body with the help of fat and bile, and stored in fat in liver cells. Do you know there's only two organs in your body that are reproducible? One, of course, is your skin. You all know that one. The other one you probably know too is your liver. Sometimes you can give part of your liver away. It'll regenerate, no problem. You might want to think about that. Well, a lot of times doctors or others who have not studied vitamins will say that vitamins really are not that important. A vitamin supplement is not really that important because you can get all the vitamins that you need to run your body effectively by a balanced diet. Do you call that fast food that you had for lunch a few days ago a balanced diet? Maybe you've had a dinner that's been quick. Maybe it's a hot dog. Maybe it's a burrito. Now, some of the things in it are good for you. I don't mean that. But the fact is, are they a balanced diet? Well, I would tend to tell you no. And so you need to understand that some vitamins, supplements, multivitamins, are pretty important to you, and you need to consider taking them. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of background, first of all, on vitamins, but to let you know that it's important that you understand that vitamins, the first one I'm talking about, sometimes you need to just be aware of and take more. And there are some vitamins that you need to be aware of. You not take too much of it. For an example, some of the fat-soluble vitamins, not so much K, but the other ones I mentioned, A, D, and E, can be dangerous and toxic if you take over their limits. I'm going to give you some limits on a couple of these, well, a few more than just a couple, so that you'll understand if you are reaching those limits that might be dangerous for you. But I want to emphasize, A, D, and E, even though they can be toxic in excess amounts, especially A, you need these. You must have them. And if you can get enough vitamins in your food, fine. Research what foods produce these. I gave you some of those in video 1, and I might give you a little bit more of them here as we get through it. But I don't want to make this an over long video. So if we take a look at what important vitamins you have, vitamin A you can get from liver, eggs, milk, fish, fruits, vegetables. And for a woman, your recommended intake should be no more than 1.1 milligrams a day. For a man, 1.3 milligrams. Now, if you eat enough of these other foods that I just mentioned, you don't need a supplement. But if you're not eating some of these vitamin A sources in food, watch out. Vitamin C. There are citrus fruits, juices, strawberries, peppers, broccoli, so on and so forth. Women, 14 milligrams a day, men, 16 milligrams a day is recommended. Now, there's no watch out for C. You can overdo that and still be okay as long as you just don't go hog wild on them. But D and E were the other two to watch out for besides A and a D. So I want to make sure I talk to you about those. D is milk, fish, oil, fortified margarines, things like this. And for adults, 1.3 milligrams up to 50. If you're over 51, 1.5. For men, ages 51 and older is 1.7. But you need these, but no more than that. Now, recently they found that D3 vitamin is even better than straight D. Then vitamin E has nuts, vegetable oils, margarine, wheat germs, leafy greens, so on and so forth. And all adults should not exceed 400 micrograms, mcg, micrograms. And they can be consumed from both fortified foods and supplements. So you need to watch out. K is another one in that food group that you don't need to be that concerned about, but they can find them in cauliflower, broccoli, leafy greens, cabbage, eggs. Unless you eat a lot of eggs, this is probably a food group that you don't get a lot in. And all adults should try to get 2.4 micro mcg grams. So strict vegetarians may need supplements. You're not going to get the kinds of things you need because they have soybeans and beans and other things in there. Now, if I look at the other group of vitamins, remember there was water soluble. I already gave you vitamin C because I want to count down the one in there. But the other one is the B vitamin. All kinds of B vitamins that are just really important that you just need to be aware of and be concerned in your health and know that they are important. These are part of the water soluble vitamins. And the B vitamins are listed many times separately. For an example, just a couple, 3 or 4. Riboflavin is the B2, dairy products, liver, red meat. Niacin, B3, nuts, grains, beets. Vitamin B6 is whole grains, bananas, red meat. And B12, which is really important, liver, beef, pork, protein, eggs. And strict vegetarians probably are not getting enough. My late wife, I was married for 45 years, lost her to cancer nearly 14 years ago. Joy of my life. Sorry, I digested a bit. I digressed a bit, excuse me, talking about food. But she had a friend who was a vegetarian, and she thought she was fine with a lot of these different things, but found out that she was so anemic in B12 that she was developing diabetes and other kinds of problems, and she hadn't quite gotten to that point, but was close, and she needed to be aware of it. And I guess she was getting some kind of an indication feeling, and so she got her blood tested, realized that even though she was a strict vegetarian, trying to eliminate all these fats, she was eating tons of cheese. And she was getting all the proteins, all the bad things that she thought she was eliminating. And her B12 was laxed, and she needed to have some. Another one that's important is biotin. Eggs, milk, liver, mushrooms, bananas, whole grains. Now, there's limits, recommended intakes. You can probably find these in some of these sources that I mentioned. Can't get into all of them without making this just an elaborate video. And I do want to talk about a couple of other things. For an example, sodium and potassium are important things in your diet. Sodium occurs naturally in food, but people who have high blood pressure or monitor their blood pressure, a lot of times it's because of too much sodium and they have to cut back. So you need to understand what your sodium limits might be. Only blood tests can help you with that. But potassium is really important. for years, and I've studied vitamins probably for 40 years. That's why I do these health answer videos, because I feel that I've got some knowledge. I don't think I'm an expert by any means. But when you go to a doctor, and you'll find that many of those will simply say, you don't need them, don't worry about them. Well, I've studied them, and I figure that my 79 years of virtually perfect health, almost no problems, great eyesight, no heart, no blood clots, no nothing, has to do with my studying of vitamins and my consuming of vitamins for 40 years. Now, recently I had a problem. I've talked about that in other videos, and I'm going to go into that right now. But at the age of 80, that's where I am now. And I hope you look at me and you say, oh, he doesn't look 80. Well, anyway, it's important that you get some sodium and potassium in your diet. But we've also found out that sulfur is important. I just put a video on Facebook, and it was about GSH-3 new multi-mineral that they've just put together and discovered the benefit. And they discovered by Iceland. And you can go back and watch that video and you get more details. But essentially, Iceland has in their soil sulfur and selenium and some potassium as well. But it's mainly sulfur and selenium. Selenium is a mineral. We'll talk about that one just in a little bit. And they found out that that's the reason why Iceland was so healthy. Finland eliminated their attempt to eliminate all sulfur and selenium from their soil. Well, recently I had stopped taking potassium for surgery I had, and I was found to be a little bit under, and started taking potassium pills, and I had to be told a prescription to take those. They're really a horse pill. And I'd been taking them for a long time, and I just stopped because of the surgery. And in about 6 months, maybe it was even 7 months. And what the cause of lack of potassium was causing, among probably other things, is you were becoming dehydrated. So, nevertheless, I started doing that. Now let's get into minerals. Minerals can be divided into two categories too. There's a microchromineal, which is the calcium, phosphorus, chloride, sodium, magnesium, and potassium. One I just talked about. Two of them I just talked about. And then the second one is microminerals. Names are really close, aren't they? Just got the macrochromineal in the first one, and the other one is micro. Now the second one has chromium, copper, fluoride, iodine, iron, manganese, selenium, and zinc. And the last group, smaller amounts are in your body, but no less important. So let's talk about what are some of the minerals real quick. First of all, there's calcium. Got to be careful not taking too much calcium. I had that at age 18, and I had a calcium kidney deposit, and I've been limited to my milk, ice cream, and things over the years, which contributed to my good health. Found out early, and didn't have any problems. I do eat ice cream still, but I don't have any milk. Do you know, 40 years ago, just got to add to this now, which adds to my health regimen. I put no salt, no sugar, I drink no milk, haven't done so in 40 years. Now, okay, I get milk in a few things. I do eat some yogurt and occasionally some ice cream. I do get salt and sugar in processed foods. Would love to not eat processed foods because I don't add sugar or salt. When I eat cereal in the morning, I don't add any sugar. I don't add salt to watermelon, or somebody said, "Oh, how can you eat watermelon without salt?" Well, you get used to those things, like you do some other things. Well, chromium is another mineral that's really good. It helps deficiency that you have maybe in insulin. It'll help people who have diabetes or on the border of diabetes. That's a real good combination. Another one is cinnamon, which of course isn't a mineral, but it's another substitute you can eat with food. Then there's some others, copper and fluoride and iodine. And then I want to get down to iron. Not to eat too much iron. The max for iron for a woman is 8 milligrams a day. For a man, it's 11. My son-in-law was deficient in iron years and years ago, was prescribed in an iron supplement, and then found out that it was starting to take its toll. And he had blood work and found out he had to stop it, and he doesn't take it anymore. So there's some limit, just like some of the things with the vitamins, the A, D, and what's the other one? E, that can be dangerous in too big quantities. Iron is probably the biggest danger that you can find in the minerals. There are probably some others that you can get too much of. For an example, iodine, you have too much of that, can be toxic, but that's 55 micrograms, mcg, micrograms. Then magnesium is really an important one. It aids in bone growth, functions of the nerve, muscles, heart rhythm. Just it's so important. And you need, as we get older, for men, they need 420 micrograms. For women, they need 320 micrograms. So magnesium just is so important that you not leave out that from your diet or from your supplement. Diet is wheat bran, whole grains, leafy green vegetables, nuts, soybeans, and bananas. Then there's other minerals such as manganese, not to be confused with magnesium. There's polydurum. There's phosphorus, red meat, poultry. Then there's potassium, I mentioned that. And it's vital for muscle contraction, nerve impulses. Helps regulate blood pressure and water balance in your cells and keeps you from being dehydrated. All adults should have 70 milligrams a day. Then selenium. Fish, shellfish, red meat, nuts, grains, eggs, chicken, garlic, organic meat, sometimes in soil and vegetables. And 55 milligrams. And then sodium and zinc are important. For an example, zinc can become available in oysters, crab meat, liver, eggs, poultry, wheat germ, beans. And for a woman, it's 8 milligrams. And for a man, it's 11 milligrams a day, not micro, milli. And I don't know about you, but I've not gotten into eating oysters, but some of you do. Well, these can help relieve heart disease, cancer. They can be antitoxins, help you with your vision. And you need to understand that they're important. And they're helping you with your weight control and some of the things that just are so important in your physical well-being. Now, a subject I'm not going to spend much time on, but organic foods. Today, many people are turning to organic foods out of concern for the environment. I don't know what your thoughts are on the environment. That's another subject entirely. But organic foods are typically ones that have been established by the federal government in 2002. It encompasses a set of standards that they put on different products labeled marketing organic foods, and they must be produced without the use, catch this, bioengineered foods, herbicides, irradiation, pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, or sewage sludge. Oh, man, I thought all food would be produced without most of those, if not all of them. Bioengineering food, maybe not, but other than that, they're just talking about now all kinds of herbicides and other things that have been removed from these organic foods. Well, to be organic, they must have the USDA certified seal. That stands for the Department of Agriculture. Now, I don't pretend to know the difference, but there are some out there that are now being told by a lot of research people, like others like John Hopkins. I don't know if John Hopkins talked about them, but others at least have, that even though they say they're organic, they're not truly all organic. They border on maybe 70%. Some are 95. 100% means the food contains only organic, produced raw and processed ingredients, with the exception of water and salt. That's probably going to be a hard thing to get, 100%. If you find one and you can trust it, do research on it, so be it. They're probably good for you, but there's really no scientific evidence for the last 18 years since these have been introduced that they are actually safer. Now, if they're produced by sewage slug or some of these, they're probably safer. I have to say that. But if they are produced without some of these other things and don't quite qualify for being organic, they may not be more valuable than whatever. Up to 5% of pesticide residues are permitted in organic foods. You didn't know that, did you? I didn't. Well, so much for organic foods and food safety. The National Animal and Disease Center is developing faster and more advanced tests to identify foodborne pathogens, and the USDA and FDA are supporting a farm-to-table approach to eliminate and control these toxins. But as anything, the old saying, I forget what old politician used to say this. I thought I would remember, but I don't. And I don't want to quote him if it's not his. You know, if it's from the government, it's in the mail. The check's in the mail. Yeah, I can get you there when. Well, I don't know how some of these things will be put together in preventing foodborne illnesses, but I hope it's soon, and we really can count on much better control of food. Thank you for watching. This has been a little longer video than I anticipated, but I think it's got some things on it that you might benefit. You might want to watch part of it, stop it, maybe go back and watch the other part another time. It's around 34 minutes right now. But as I kind of close these things, even though you may not be one that's close to the Lord, I am. And so I just want to praise his name And I wish you the best, and may God be with you.